that one. That's just an expand button. So it says people can see your screen.
Start that, shouldn't you?
Should we start that?
I think so, yeah.
That's already rather.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, close that. All right, we better get going. Starting a little late due to technical difficulties. We will go ahead and start off with roll call with who's here. Cody.
Can you hear us, Lynn?
Here. Chris Thompson.
The mic's on.
Those. I think.
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you, Lynn. So we have Lynn is on the phone.
Yes.
We've got Chris Thompson.
Here.
And then Chris Squire. Here. Do we have anyone else that's called in on this? Ren or Ruthann? We must not. So we're trying to have this as both in-person and electronic meeting tonight. We do have a quorum here physically. So we'll go ahead and get started. Let's start off and review our minutes from our last meeting. I did notice Don Budenmark's name was spelled wrong. It said Dom.
Oh. That's unusual. It's usually the last name that's.
Yeah.
The Dominator.
That's right.
Football days, huh?
I wish I could say dominated, mostly in high school, not in college. They're all about the same size in college, so.
That's all I saw. I don't know if anybody saw anything else that needs.
Doesn't matter, my name's misspelled too.
Oh, is it
Thompson.
Chris
Chris?
is CH,
Is it CRIS?
the CHRIS.
This has an H, Mike.
Well, I know it does,
No,
but
his is one way and his is another. Yeah.
well, the phone numbers are right.
In the minutes.
Oh, down low in the minutes part. The motion seconded by Chris and that,
Wait on the minutes,
yes, where it says,
April 1st.
that second line.
Let me get to the, well, I've got two on the screen.
Hey Lynn, are you able to see the screen on your computer?
No.
Probably the best thing is if you go to the Roosevelt website, there's a YouTube link. Have you joined that
I'm
one?
trying to get to that on another computer, so I might be working on that while we're over there.
Okay.
This computer's working, taking me that they're slow.
So we got that changed there. Did you get that,
No.
change on Chris's name in?
Well, I got the check, yeah,
Okay.
I got both of them.
So we got Don's and Chris. Any other changes needed? If not, I'd
I
entertain.
didn't post,
Okay,
I think that's all.
I'd entertain a motion to approve minutes as amended. As a, motion by Lynn,
I'll second Lynn's motion.
second by Chris Thompson. All in favor? Aye. Any opposed? Okay. Let's go ahead and get on to our agenda. We're gonna start out with the minor subdivision for Steve Yack. And Dean, you said you were gonna
I represent the state.
represent him on that?
And who gets a chance, maybe he can bring it up on the screen to be Steve. And that, so Steve Yak, if you remember, he has a large parcel there in back of Stewart's there. So about a year ago, he cut the front building off. And so listen here, he's actually, has cut off another acre and the building that's in the back of the post. Right there. On there. So the only thing that actually moved is he stayed with the same boundary line that was on the east and extended that south and just took off another acre on the lot with the building that's there.
Do you know why he's doing the split?
Because he's selling the building. He's already got a buyer for the second building.
So he's selling lot one in the building?
Lot one, yes, and the building. It's actually already got an entrance off of 1500 west there. And it's got its own entrance to this and that, so.
Can you hear okay, Lynn?
I can hear you. Yeah, I can't hear Dean very well, but I can hear the rest of it.
So Steve has a buyer for his second building, so he cut a full acre off, moved the boundaries to the north, and, everything meets the zoning requirements for that area.
See if you can call, pretext in the,
Are there easements up that street?
As far as anything on his property, no.
Is there lethal bidding?
What was that, Lynn?
Are there needed easements?
so that's from that I've,
Any easements needed?
No, not that I'm aware of. I mean, once the street is developed, you know, they would do sidewalk and everything, which is just normal part of the property. So as far as any easements for utilities or anything, no.
Drew, could you pull up the ordinance 16-6-130? So we probably give him where they write down that number out.
Go to Roosevelt City page.
Want to text him that number?
Probably just have to go at Internet Explorer
I'll
and
go to
then
that
that city on that one.
Just call, ask for the meeting.
Just go to the top for government. It's the easiest way. Just put your cursor on government. Then it should drop down. Then just go down to planning and zoning. Just drop down to planning and zoning board. Right there. Well, that's agenda, so. Planning and zoning board. Just drop down right there. Yeah, pull that one. Then go over here, scroll down, look up too far. Come on back up. Land use codes. Go over here.
Gwen, are you logged in?
Subdivision.
Yeah, that's the side, trying to get on it.
16 on.
Which one was
I
it,
think
Chris?
the go to meeting on the screen, we probably won't be able to do that. Probably the best thing for you to do would be go to the Roosevelt City website and then click the YouTube link,
What was that one?
16.
16-6-130 on the ordinance.
The planning and zoning, and,
I wish I could use my phone. You can go to this website and see where the link is.
16.6.
my computer, my desktop is really slow, but
Use it when you press that. Click on 16.
So
trying to do something
So Drew, do you know where the link is on the, sorry,
Doing
do
three.
you know where the link is on YouTube, on the city website for them to click on so they can see the meeting?
They go to,
For YouTube, they just YouTube and click on and do
So just do a
Roosevelt
search?
City, and then they have to go into that and find us,
So do a YouTube search for Roosevelt City.
Roosevelt City.
So Dean is saying that you need to do a search for Roosevelt City, YouTube.
What's the agenda, man? They have got.
So right here, 6-1.
Man.
So you probably have to turn your volume off on your computer so it doesn't echo. Or you'll have to, yeah, you have to mute, just mute your phone would probably be the best thing, so you listen to us on the video. And then when you want to speak, you'll have to unmute.
I'm not even sure how to mute my phone. Oh, yeah, I think
Rin, are you on the speaker, or on the, okay, you are?
I'm watching the audio on YouTube.
Okay, so we have Ren has joined electronically.
So this is the easement, it talks about easement. So as Lynn was talking about, one thing that we've experienced a problem with, on easements is, so on the Fifth East project, we didn't have any easements along there, so, the power company had to acquire easements to build the power in. We're doing the temple parking lot, and the church had to purchase right away along that, a public utility easement. It probably should have been there when they platted the property. So I looked up the ordinance of what's required for easements, and there's actually 2 different places where we call out easements. In our standard, it says that we're supposed to have, it says public utility easements shall be 10 foot wide around the perimeter of the standard lots. So it's saying that all the way around the lot, you're supposed to have, so you can split that 5 and 5 on the 2 lots. Now, the standard is calling for 10 feet. And then this one that's up on the screen, it's calling for 15-foot easements. But then it's basically putting, so I talked to, the surveyor that did this plat, Jerry Allred is a really good surveyor. And I want to get his opinion on easements. And he doesn't think that this property needs an easement. And his opinion is that it's better to have the easement along the front than along the sides. And the ordinance spells out that it's probably more important on the sides than on the front. So that's a long way to get to my opinion. So he already has the Mylar all done, ready to sign.
Yes, got it sitting right here.
So what my suggestion would be to the planning and zoning board is next one, when Dean is working with people on these, the Dean would make sure that I think we need to address it because there's a conflict. One says it's required 10 feet all the way around. The other one says it's 15 feet and that it's at this. So I would like to say that the next one that comes to us, I think we need to talk about what we're going to require as a planning board. Since he's already got the Mylar, I think we approve it, but I think that on the next, anytime we do a lot, but I want to make sure, I recommend that we make sure that at least along the front, we have the PUE on the drawing.
So that would be down 150 west.
Correct.
Okay, no, it's easy enough to do.
Do you think, so that, I don't know what other people's opinions on it. We can either require, and it's not, you're looking at about $20. And then his time is probably about an hour to reprint it. So it's not a big deal to add that line to the existing Mylar. So I don't know what anyone else has an opinion.
I think we look at it going forward since there is a conflict. That we would, I don't see any other issues, so I would say we would approve this and then, like you said, look at our ordinances and fix the conflict so we can take care of this in the future. So on that, I would entertain a motion to approve this minor subdivision for Steve Jack.
I'll first it.
A motion by Chris Thompson and a second by Cody. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Okay. Any opposed? Okay. We'll go ahead and call that one good. Gotta have that delayed, wait.
So are we gonna put it on the agenda for a meeting to try and resolve that from the ordinance on where our easements are gonna be?
I gotta be here.
How'd you get up?
Caroline,
in the corner there.
We make sure that that's on the agenda for next time,
to look at the conflicts.
to look at the easement ordinance.
Is it that specific one you were stating, 166130?
Yeah, and then also it's in our standards, so section, 0007, 01.02, I,
I couldn't hear for that.
just put it in standards.
Okay. On the next one, we have a master site plan for Faith Baptist Church. First, let's start off with Dean on this. Let's get your thoughts on this.
Okay, let me give you some history. The Baptist Church has been working with me for 3 years to replace the existing building that's there, which is a double wide, which has no handicap or anything. So what they have done is they removed the existing building that was there. And they're doing a meeting hall / foyer right there. It's got handicap facilities for it and that. They have an issue there.
You wanna hold this on your, in front of you? And we'll just pass it.
They have an issue on the utilities, which have to come off of 800 South and that, which are shallow. And so that's where their building is located, where it is, which is what they planned anyway. As far as, for handicap accessibility to the building, there's a cement pad there and they're planning on doing a ramp to the building. The foundation is gonna be above the curb line, which the others were not. And that, in case we have flooding in that area in the future. It's a small congregation, probably 90% Native American. And so they're doing the building now. In the future, as a phase 2, they're looking at asphalting the parking lot. Right now, it has a gravel area there, which has never been a problem with dirt entering and exiting off of that road and that. So they're kind of doing this in phases as they have money. So basically, that's the situation. Like I said, this has been three years in the works for them to get to this point with the building and everything, so they can proceed. A lot of it will be just like the Jehovah's Witness buildings, who they have that's qualified will do what work, and they'll hire the subcontractors, which are not within their congregation.
Is this the minister right here?
No, this is Mark. He'll be spearheading the construction for the church. So
I'll be getting the bids and, for all the subs and stuff like that. I've got a background in general contracting, so.
come on up here and you can answer their questions. I'll let you hold
Just
this.
set it down.
So, I feel like I'm always the bad guy. So, if you pull up the ordinance on site plans. So 1713, 20? So my first concern, Dean, I worry that a lot of these conditions aren't met on the site plan.
So which ones?
Several of these,
I've included the construction drawings for this also.
You down 17, 15, 30, you said?
yeah, 20.
20?
Yeah, it's right there.
Oh, this one right here, or two?
Yeah, 020. Right there.
Okay, you're on. So the first question is, how did you calculate how many stalls were on the lot? How many stalls were needed?
And basically on the occupancy of the building.
Okay, so did you base it off both buildings, or did you base it off just the one and off the queue lengths, or?
Just the one. And
So how
like I
many
say,
queues?
the stalls are future. As far as the parking lot stalls and everything will be future. They have plenty of room there for parking.
Okay.
So they're not putting in parking now, they're just the gravel, right?
Right, just the gravel. They do have a handicap pad there for the handicapped people. They plan on doing a ramp over the river.
So our city ordinances do require that they asphalt the parking lot. They can't have a gravel, and I can pull up that ordinance if you want, Dean.
Well, so we can pull it up and you can do it, but then we're gonna appeal it to city council. Because all it's passed, it's been there forever. They have plans as a plan two, phase two, to do asphalt as they have money. It's a small
Dean, this is not your
contribution.
place, this is not your place to take the side of the owner. You're supposed to be impartial, you're supposed to be back in the standards and the rules. You're not supposed to be making exceptions, and it's our call to make the call.
That's right.
Not your call.
And that's what this.
You're out of line.
No, I'm not. This gentleman needs to know the rules too, and that they're doing their best to meet the ordinances of a small congregation. And that they have limited funds and they're doing their best to serve their congregation.
So you just said that you're gonna bill it.
No, I said this gentleman will, and that, because this board here says it.
That's not what you said, but that's fine.
Well, I meant him. And that, because you set the conditions, and then if they can't meet those, then they have to appeal it to city council. And this is one of the worries that I had on this, as a small congregation. They're lucky to have the funds to do this. And they've had a gravel parking lot all along. They have plans, when they have funds, they hope to enlarge their congregation to be able to do it better. So, that's fine, I understand what it says, but we're charged with doing our best to assist the public and be business friendly. And that, so we can set conditions that in the future, when they have in a phase two to do this, I would ask the board to look at this. As far as dollar and cents of what they have, they're trying to accomplish what they can with what they've got.
You know, a month ago, the mayor trained us, and he came to the whole meeting on the importance of following code. So I guess the question is, are we following the code, or do we amend the code if we're following the code? Right, but if not, do we need to amend it, or where are we at, I guess?
Well, we don't have the right here as a board to make decisions on which of these codes we want to follow and which ones we don't.
Right.
So maybe you guys have a better idea. So if we want to have an exception to that, is that something that moves forward to city council, or is that something that we just don't do?
So
we want to make a decision.
I would say you set your conditions, and then they would have to appeal it to council.
Okay. You wanna,
We want to get this process right, so we're not doing, you know what I mean? We know what the rules are now.
And I've been fiddling with the volumes and everything, but I did catch a little bit. So explain to me again, because I know I heard my name, so.
So we've got rules in our ordinances that say that in this case, we're building a new building, there's gotta be parking.
Is it a brand new building?
Yeah,
yes.
They're replacing it.
so it will be a new building.
So it's a replacement, so they can enlarge the handicap facilities.
our ordinances say they gotta have parking spots, not gravel.
Hang on just a second.
That's all right. So that's basically the issue though, is,
And it says, they said they have to have asphalt parking lot.
Asphalt or concrete.
Okay.
And so
Go ahead, Chris.
So the ordinance, and Dean is telling us that we need to make an exception because of the situation here.
The thing with this is planning and zoning can't really, and the other thing is it's really hard for, city council to do that either. Now, there is a variance, but that has to go to a variance committee. It doesn't come to this committee, nor does it go to the city council. So there's a variance committee that could go to. And currently it's the city manager, myself, a member of the,
council. Right,
I said the city council, then I meant the city manager, myself, and a member of the city council. I don't really think that variance committee is fair, but right now that's who it is. And so, it would have to come before and be presented as a variance. It's not a conditional use. And then there would be, yeah, go ahead.
But even the variance, it shouldn't pass the variance. The correct way to do this would be, we have to change the rules for everyone.
Right.
And the variance committee has to review, there's certain standards, there's certain things they have to meet on the variance, and they have to show that it's a hard lot, and there's certain requirements. And so even if the people on there are following the right rules, they would turn it down as well.
But you would have to read it there. What I mentioned though is they wanted to phase this as they have money that was available. They're more than willing to commit to asphalt when the funds are available. As I mentioned, this is
Normally,
a small church and it's serving the Native American community. It's 90% Native American.
Normally what we would do on something like this, based on my understanding, is do a bond or something like that. Somebody that wants to start a project but doesn't finish it immediately would put money down on a bond. And that way, if they weren't, if they didn't pave it, then eventually we take that money and order the city to pay that. And so that might be a way to do that as well. I know money's an issue. But there's other ways that we can secure, ways that we make sure that they do it in the future. If it is a phased project or a step project, then instead of just saying, yeah, let's go ahead and have you do it and we'll approve it and then get to it when you can, it would probably be best to talk to the attorney, have some type of a contract that would say, hey, within this amount of time, this would be executed. You might have a certain amount down that you pay. It wouldn't be the total cost of the asphalt, but it'd be enough money that you'd want to
How large would it have to be?
And I think that's something that's probably negotiable. It just depends. And, you know, something that would be reasonable, but you guys put that in your motion, as long as it gets done. Some of the motions that I've seen in central Utah, would be, we're going to approve this, these are the steps they're gonna take, and it's subject to legal counsel review, meaning if legal counsel says, no, that's not a great idea, then it wouldn't, it wouldn't pass. But you could make the motion and put the stipulations on as far as timeframes and things that you thought would be equitable to proceed. And then you would just say, subject to counsel, legal counsel review. And then what we would do is get with the attorney, drop a contract, and set some of those, fine tune some of those parameters, and then have them sign before they started building.
How long until you guys are thinking about doing the parking lot?
Well, I think, it's gonna go, well, like I said, we're gonna be getting the money, we're gonna be trying to get it framed up and roofed this year. And start doing your furnace and stuff like that this winter.
When were you thinking about the parking lot?
Probably spring or something like that.
So you were planning on, or when were you thinking about asphalt? The parking lot?
What we weren't planning on asphalt. We thought the gravel there and there, we kind of wanted a country look. Cause it's already there and it looks nice. It's not a scrubby looking place. So we did save the pad of concrete that's in front of the new church for parking stalls for the handicap. And then the ramp will go from there, the sidewalk from up the side, and you can go in the building. But, so no, we didn't plan on any asphalt at all. If we could, we want the country look. That's what we.
But in our conversations, I mentioned to you that asphalt would be necessary and we would probably have to face.
Yeah, and that's the way it is, that's the way it is.
So if I'm typically on a bond, they're not gonna let you go longer than a year. So if we win the bonding process, we probably can plan on doing asphalt within a year.
Okay, so what is the bond, what is the cost of a bond? Is that
So
just an
typically
insurance bond, right?
It's typically about 3% of the total cost of the project. You have to show that you have enough assets that if you foreclose on the bond, it's typically about
I'm talking 30 grand,
2 to 3% of the cost of the project.
or just the asphalt.
If you-
Oh, yeah, oh, yeah.
And just so you know, if you did not do it, then the city would do
Yes.
that, and then they would charge, put a lien against your property until that was paid.
Well, they would go after the bond, and then the bond company would have to give us the money, and then we would put in an asphalt parking lot. And then the bonding company would go after you guys for the assets you have, and they'd collect on those assets.
And I think that's the best way to proceed, given enough time, because ultimately, the rule is there that it would have to be done. And we want to make sure that's one of the things that we want to steer away from, either that or change the rule. Instead of making exceptions to the rule, we want to either change the rule to make it fair for everyone that comes in the future, or we could extend that timeframe where you had to put the parking lot in to whatever you felt was reasonable and that you could possibly do. Bond it, like we're saying,
Okay,
and
so,
then,
so what is a reasonable size for 34 to 50 people? I mean, how many stalls?
How many queues are you, do you have the site plans with you?
If you got that, put it up on.
So according to the city ordinance, it requires for every one parking stall for every 3.5 seats. And so what's the capacity of the chairs?
I'm confused, it's 18 inches a person.
I don't think they were planning on putting in pews, were you?
No, we're not, it's gonna be chairs.
It's gonna be moving chairs.
So, 3.5 seats, how many, you're talking 50 people?
Yeah, 35 to 50,
So that'd be 10 stalls, and then one of them would have to be accessible.
10 stalls.
Well, what's the occupancy? Have you figured that out, the occupancy?
The occupancy on the plan, say 90.
90.
I would think you do that.
We do it off occupancy.
So it'd be the 90 divided by 3.5.
And then let the church discuss this.
26.
This stuff.
Plus I require ADA parking.
Yeah, that's there.
That's already there,
That's already there, so we can just go around that.
And so there's just several items missing from it. So also it will require that the rest area be landscaped. And so you have to do your grass or trees. You have to complete the site. I think it'd be good to show on the site plan which areas are future, like if you're not gonna do the soccer field now, then just show that this area would be future.
Okay. We'll put that on the site plan.
Yeah, there's a lot of requirements on the site plan that I'd like to see on there, just so we can, if I was a neighbor, I'd want, the planning and zoning to look out for me to make sure that what's going in next door meets the appearance of the neighborhood. There's a lot of nice houses over there in Gales Acre.
Yeah, there is.
And if you want to try to change the ordinance, you can change the ordinance and say, go for that country fill and see if that would work. And it is zoned in R1. And so it is a rural, it's supposed to be a rural area. So a couple of suggestions I was gonna make is, I would like the city, another requirement is it requires all improvements to be made around the site. And so it would require that you put sidewalk along the north there. I feel like it's a great thing for the city, so I would recommend that the city look at paying for the sidewalk, just to help these guys out. Kent Smith, you know him?
No, I don't.
So I talked to him, he's with the Interfaith Committee, he's the head of it,
Mhm.
and he said that they would love to help on a project like this.
Really?
So I'd recommend talking to him. He's a good source. I can't access my phone, so I can't give you his number, but I could have Ken call the guy, or would you, I guess I could write down your number and have him call you.
Yeah, do that.
Okay.
It's Mark Bardsley, BARDSLEY, 435-722-7838.
Okay. So I think there's opportunities, but I feel like we need to protect the people around there, and we need to do it right. So my recommendation at this point is I'd like to have a site plan that meets all the requirements of our ordinance. And I think that we have to show the flow and make sure that the parking stalls are there for the capacity. And then, I would want to, so I'd like to see it brought back to us, but that's just me.
Well, I was gonna mention to Mark, I think it's best if you table this issue, let them talk to the congregation and see if this is something that they can do. They may have to put this on the back burner until they acquire more funds.
Another thing that, I looked into, after talking with others on it, is this needs to come, because it's an RR1 zone, this actually, a church is a conditional use. So this is here as a master site plan, but it does also,
It's already a church.
but it's changing.
That's why I didn't bring it for conditional use.
The way I see it, it's a new building.
It's always been a church.
So is the capacity,
Passing a building with a building, it should not be conditional use.
we can pull up the conditional use, but anytime that it changes, so the amount, the square footage is different than the original one. And so technically it should come as a conditional use and not as a site plan.
So I had a question on that. We're trying to get away from conditional uses.
Right.
So I was kind of surprised to see that it was listed in there as conditional use. But how can you deny conditional use when it's already being used for that purpose?
It's if you're changing the conditional
Because you're
use.
changing the conditions of the original conditional use.
Basically, you can't. deny
But it wasn't conditional use when
All
it
you
went
can do
there.
is set conditions.
Was it or wasn't it? We need to know that.
That's what I'm wondering about. Because it's basically grandfathered in. So I'm asking right now, because I'm wondering how this all works, because we know the zoning has changed there
Twice.
at least twice in the last
Because you were
8 years or so.
RR1 and then you went R16
Yeah, and then it went back.
R1.
And so I'm just kind of wondering how that's supposed to all work, because my understanding of conditional use is let's see if I can put this in the right words. If you allow a conditional use into an area, how do you not allow it then unless there's something drastic has changed?
So there's a lot of debate about conditional uses. So conditional uses, a lot of people feel like they just have to be permitted uses with certain
It
things.
should, in my opinion, there shouldn't be conditional use.
And that Roger Eschler, who's was here for a long time, that was his opinion as well. And so basically, if we go with what his recommendation would be, is we move all conditional uses into permitted uses, and then we would just put requirements upon those permitted uses.
And we were working on
We were starting into that process.
And that, I think that'd be a good thing to do.
So I think we ought to table this issue. Maybe you can get Mark the information for the people we can contact. You can talk to his congregation, see how they want to proceed, or they'll abandon the project.
And I would talk to that Ken guy. I think there's gonna be a lot of help. I think there's a lot of people that have equipment, that'd be able to come out. There's a lot, I know a guy that we could come down there and help pour cement, just be providing materials. Because I think it's a good project for the community. I just feel that we need to protect, like Chris, if that area, it'd be nice to move to, so that area, like, if you put some gravel and, I think our role as planning commissioners, we're trying to make this city better.
And that's what
We're trying to follow, we're trying to follow the rules, and in the past, like on the site plan, I think in the past, it's requiring the site plan that they put trees in. And you look at all the site plans that have been put in since that ordinance was passed, and if all those sites would have been required to put trees in, the city would look a lot better. And so I think these ordinances are in place, and we need to follow them.
And this particular site has fruit trees. Y'all have fruit trees on the property.
Yeah.
There are half a dozen trees there already.
And the Ken Smith guy, he says he wants to come pick the apples. So that's something I'll probably talk to you
I don't
about.
think you want those little crab apples.
He uses the big deer.
Actually, they have a really good pear tree.
We'll plant a couple of trees out there.
Okay. So on that note, we all agree, we just table this until we get some more information and better stuff. Okay. All right. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
See you guys later. So next, we do have a conditional use for Lonnie and Angel. That's your turn to be drilled.
All right, let's do it.
Ready for this?
You just said you're not gonna do any more conditional uses,
Right,
right?
like,
So-
well, I guess we're
Supposed to
not.
steer away.
Okay. So first off, the lot that they want to construct this school, and you're gonna have to explain to them the type of school that you want.
Okay,
It's
I wouldn't call
across
it
from the
school,
future
More of a
library.
learning center.
yeah, but anyway, so that lot, right, we're talking this lot here.
That's
Right,
lot
that,
right there.
that lot right there. And the future library is planned to be across.
Across the street. So we are in this process of trying to find a place for this learning center. So we looked at existing buildings and we came across this lot. We reached out to Brandon Patterson, who owns it, Patterson, sorry. And he's willing to sell it, but he's like, it's zoned multi-resident. So he's like, I would reach out before we do anything official and see if it's something that is even possible. So
Yeah.
we put some plans together, excuse me, plans together and with the like minimal plans, because we wanted to kind of have an idea of what might go in there and see if it was possible.
Yeah, so obviously we haven't done any engineering or things, we've just got some conceptual design of what the school would look like. What it would be, it's,
Actually, we've got the floor plan here, we can scroll.
yeah, you can kind of look at the floor plan there to kind of see what it looks like. The idea is it's going to be and then we've been doing the robotics thing after school with kids in the junior high and the elementary schools for about 3-4 years now.
3 years for the elementary.
So
Just kind of scroll.
it's become pretty popular. We've got a lot of kids doing it after school, and we see some,
I've spent a lot of
especially some homeschool kids that are looking for other opportunities to do stuff during the day.
during the day. And we just don't have access.
So
to
we're
support
thinking
that,
just a
so
facility where they could come by and do a class, whether it's a
Just
science
have
or a
some
math.
cooperative education
whatever
classes
it
where we have moms who are skilled in teaching in a certain area and they want to be able to have those cooperative education classes for kids who are not wanting to be in the schools, or even though there's a lot of, like Shannon Staker teaches a science class that is not a junior high class, but they leave the junior high and take their science class. And we just thought we could really bring something to the community if we offer a place for some of those things to happen. So they're localized and not like here and there and here and there. There's kind of a place where they come together. So I guess we're just wondering if this is a possibility for this location, is really what we're wondering. Before we
Before we start
spend more money on this.
Because obviously we have a lot of options at the moment. There's a lot of properties for sale and a lot of places we can go do this, but we like the location. It could be great to be there across from the park, across from the new library. Easy access for a lot of people to come and do stuff. But at the same time, we just need to kind of see if it would be.
Yeah, I'll only comment a little bit, just knowing what Daniel Lockley and a few of those with the library are trying to accomplish as well. They're really trying to provide recreation and things to do for children that aren't in sporting programs and those types of things. And so this fits really hand in hand. This is kind of exciting to me because this fits hand in hand with what the library is already doing, and maybe you could work in conjunction with them as well if that was there, obviously. You know, but Daniel's involved in, Steve, I think, works there at the library also. And they're involved with providing those types of recreational activities and opportunities to children that aren't maybe sports and that aren't, the other mainstream activities. And so I think that would fit. The only thing I would say is it would be neat on that block because we really want to start filling out all those homes and things around as they sell and making that more of a community area is maybe to see what their plans are for the library and to kind of make it look similar. I don't know if that's possible.
Yeah, we could make it look like it fits in the plan of the area.
Yeah, exactly. That's the only thing I would say.
Yeah, that's, our vision is we want it to be a pretty nice little place. Obviously, there's not a lot more empty lots in the area, but there's a few that have been there for a long time or kind of run down, but
like to have it look a little nicer and just be a nice place that people feel comfortable bringing their kids to and doing activities both during the day and then after school time as well. So
That's great.
that's kind of the idea.
I think is that area, like you said, there's a lot of older homes, things like that, as that slowly transitions to more of what we're talking about. It would be nice to have it fairly, look like everything's supposed to be there. So maybe it might be a good idea to just see what they're planning and look at some of the other buildings, new buildings in that area and do something similar. Whereas a conditional use, you can require some of those things. I wouldn't go overboard, but just something that would look like it could.
I think it's great for the area too. One question I have is, what's the plans with the old library?
It's still up in the air right now. Personally, I would like to see, we don't have anywhere where we have, what am I thinking? I'm thinking memorabilia comes to mind, but that's not what that's not museum type stuff, but our history. We don't have any history places in our area where you can go and see Roosevelt City's history. You have the mayor's old home on the corner that's just kitty corner from the old library, and you have the old library there. And so a few of those buildings, I think, might be good to renovate and then put history and those types of things, and what you're doing with it right in line with what's going on there.
That's what I was wondering, just to get this off the ground. That building's gonna be vacant, just to kind of see how it works and see how it does, and the city lease that building to you
Oh, that's not a bad idea.
for a little while. And then as, if it gets used, and then you could go build this, if you feel that it's, but that's what I was thinking.
Well, and I would say it's up to you. I think we could make it available to you if you wanted it, but it'd be at least a year before it'd be available.
Yeah.
But if you want to proceed with your building and move forward, I don't see a problem with that either.
I think the biggest issue with them is whether to acquire property.
Yeah.
Like, we kinda
So
made
we're
it
still
all,
like
so
getting bids
we
from
done
like
pretty
how much and building from the ground up right now is proving to be slightly more expensive than we had hoped it would be. So, but,
So we're not sure, you know, we've got a business plan put together of what it would cost for kids to come that we think would be affordable for most families. How many kids we think we could have be there, and we're not gonna be able to support a huge budget for a great big building for sure. And we've looked at ideas for leasing something for a little while to get it going. I think leasing the library would probably be a great idea. Like you said, it wouldn't be available for a year, but we've looked at other buildings as well that are up for lease or that are for sale that we could do some things with.
Do you think there's room now that you can lease a portion of it and then just sell it?
That's why they're building a new one.
Yeah.
yeah, it is, yeah.
You know, they've been getting surprising to me, because I'm not in the know on that type of stuff, but they've been getting like 200 and 300 people in that building. That's not made to house that many.
Yeah, we're actually doing a little program after school there once every other Friday. We were till the whole COVID-19 thing happened, but we're doing a little Pokemon thing, and man, we had so many kids coming to that. I think it was amazing to me. There was like 30 kids showing up and play cards and trade around and set up tables all through the library, disrupt everybody for an hour.
But like, there's a lot of need in the public wanting to have activities like that.
Mike mentioned also they were looking at parking on the front of the building, and if they needed more, getting a driveway down to the bottom, it's actually on that slope. That's
Kind of
the
big
reason
and
they were
slow,
gonna do
so,
the
yeah, it
walkout
looks like
basement there.
definitely
Can I
have
make
to.
a comment with that?
Yeah.
Really quickly? Because the school district, one of the requirements, not school, excuse me, the library, one of the requirements when we sold them the property is that they would widen the street and add parking on that street so that people could park there. Again, if you talk to them and you know, we could work these things in conjunction, it sounds like your time frame might be a little out there too. You just want to make sure that you can do it in the future. But there will be additional parking there that you could talk to them and make sure it's okay to share that parking with them, but that'll solve some of that problem for you.
It's hard for us to gauge right now how much parking we're gonna need. Because a lot of the kids have been walking there from junior high or be getting dropped off, but at the same time, we don't want to be in a situation where we're cluttering
It's
up
more
the whole
popular
street
than
all
we
the time. Right? You know,
thought. Like, oh,
but I think we could build some access along the side of the property, and then in the back, we could easily put some parking back.
And on that 200, I think it's 200 West right there. Anyway, that whole block from Lagoon Street to 100 North, that will all be widened and all parking right there, and then they'll have an additional parking lot in front of the library, and so, like I said, I don't think that would be much of an issue. I can't imagine how many, how wide is the parking lot, 10 feet, and then city blocks, how long?
Actually, I think city ordinance goes down to 8.5.
8.5, yeah.
So, Angela, can I?
Yeah.
Hand me my phone.
Oh, yeah.
So I was
Sorry,
concerned,
man, we're giving you away, man.
I think I can pull up my, so, so that was my concern was parking. And so I looked at our city ordinance, and so what our city ordinance does, it refers to the building inspector. So Dean would be the one that would determine the amount of parking stalls, but it says that he should use standards. And so I went online and looked for, similar type of things. And so what I found is that it recommends, one parking stall for every 10 students that you plan on having, and then one stall for every 2 employees. And so, I don't know if you know how many.
Yeah, all of our business plan estimates puts us like maxing out at like, I think 30 students per 2 classrooms, so I guess 60 total. If we have all 4 classrooms going, right?
Yeah.
Then it would be 60 students, so that'd be 6 parking lots for that.
And how many employees?
We're not going to call them specifically employees, they're more gonna be contract employees, but they're.
Probably you'd
still-
have 4, I mean, there'd be 4 teachers there at that time, plus maybe an administrator, so 5 people.
So that'd be 8. And then there's exceptions in the ordinance where you can actually use on-street parking for some of those.
So I just sketched this up, like in thoughts of like a starting place with just.
To provide parking that's not on the street, then you have to treat it like a duplex or something, where the parking would be on the front lawn area. And that area is roughly 100 feet wide. That way you want to leave room on the side for a road to go down below.
I like that sketch. I like that.
They could get 6 across the front pretty good, but then
So
you'll
that's-
lose the on-street parking.
Have you thought about putting some, using that alleyway and putting some parking in the back?
That's one of the ideas we've had.
And that is
We
one,
could have an alleyway down the side and put
my
a
biggest concern was,
or. even-
how do you get them back up to the front door, or do they come in the back door, that's stuff we can figure out, but.
So do you think 8 stalls is, or 6, how many stalls?
Yeah, I think something like that is probably reasonable for what we're thinking.
Even 8 stalls, 9 foot wide lots.
Yeah, I don't think a lot of times it's like-
That's still at 20 feet.
Yeah.
So you'd have plenty.
And her sketch has 6 on there. I think,
Yeah.
I think you'd actually, that's probably a little bigger than it used to be, but I think that's, I like the turnaround too. The hard part thing with turnarounds, is you have people driving where people are walking. But it,
Yeah, it's true. You gotta kind of, I mean, obviously that's why the schools fight them so hard and have, people out there watching the kids when they're getting dropped off. Of course, we wouldn't see traffic like in elementary school or high school or something like that, but
I just thought it'd be safer to give them a drop-off zone rather than having them drop off on the street and then walking through a parking area. That was my concern.
I think if you put most of the parking in the back, and that for your, then, try to keep the front more for your drop off.
Yeah, the biggest thing on it, you have to look at the grade of that slope.
yeah. It
That's
does drop off.
It
pretty
drops
fast.
off
I haven't
pretty
checked to
steeply
see how much.
So,
We want to try and keep it 7% or less.
So what do we need tonight? Are we,
So I guess we just need to know, is it possible so that we can maybe move forward with some bids and things like that? Like, was gonna be a plausible thing to move forward with? And
So-
if not, we'll just. look
I
at
would
other
go through the
locations.
conditions, in the conditional use and throw them out, just so they know what they're looking at.
Yeah, that way we can know what we can plan for too.
do that.
That way, we have at least.
So can we pull up the conditional use section? It's got the 11 bullet points or whatever it is. That'll give you an idea of the stuff we'll be looking at anyways.
Right there.
You guys probably already looked into this. We'll go through. So one of the concerns I had was, accessibility for handicaps. So, access to the basement, and I think it's just a simple additive drawing, but I would like to see 2 access points in case of emergency or in case of a fire? So just a door added to the basement drawing?
It does have.
Well, they'll have to bring us engineer design plans, and that'll have our egress on it, it'll have our, I mean, all that will be.
Yeah, when we get an engineer.
Yeah, so they'll tell us how many exits we have to have based on occupant load, they'll tell us, where our egress has to be. How many doorways, how
So
wide.
that's what we thought, is we would have certain access to that.
In our plan, we have.
So it's not an ADA or
Yeah, they could put the door.
Yeah.
We're giving them out both levels kind of thing.
So yeah, your engineer or architect will leave that plan, and then they'll put it through the code book, and they'll be like, all right, we've got to have always this wide based on occupant load, we can't do any further than X amount of feet from here to the next exit. We have a-
So A is conditional use.
So that'll all get done.
Are you still there, Brandon? Lynn?
So that's where it shows this, and then it'll actually tell you what your.
Hello? Okay. You guys okay?
It's lagging a little bit, but it's okay.
Conditional use.
Okay.
I had. There's somewhere. We talked about a lot of things like in person, so I kind of had some ideas, but.
So just on a conditional use, it'll expire and you can renew it. So you have to do it within a certain amount of time. It would be in here, and that'd be the only concern. So that even though what we're telling you, if after a certain while, the conditional use would expire, if it's not installed.
So then we would have to reapply for it again, is that?
Yeah, if you don't build.
If we don't build
If you
it.
don't build that.
17.8 is your conditional uses. 17.08, you guys are in there. Oh, I'm behind, sorry.
Just yet, and
But when we say expire, is it like a year later or something like that?
I think you can have 2 extensions, because we can pull it up. I don't.
my other thought is if in the next 2 weeks when we get things back from, the builders and they're like, yeah, this is maybe $500,000, and we're like,
It's that,
so
letter
could
C,
we
isn't that what we're looking
put that
at?
permit fee towards a different permit if we find a different location,
Or
or
that, those 13,
we just out the 200?
I think that's what we're looking at.
Or,
So the question is if they decide to do this in a different location, they've already paid the $200 for conditional use, would they have to pay the $200 again?
Unfortunately, yes,
Yeah.
each site would require their own repairs.
Right. We'll ask this question since we're standing here. Like, if we find a building that is in a commercial use area, we don't need to go through this, right? We don't need to come to planning.
Right, a school and a commercial.
Yeah, it would just have to be a permitted use, which I
Should be permitted, I think.
should be permitted under that.
We'd have to go to
Because it's
commercial.
not really a school, it's more of a learning center. It's like.
I mean, it's more, I would,
Yeah,
They're all
like
the same.
a tutoring center, that kind of.
I consider more of a business at that point than it would be.
Well, I mean, yeah, it's classified as an institutional use of the code, so that's schools or what you're doing, it's all institutional.
One thing I'd like to see is, my daughter just took the ACT. I don't know,
ACT prep, yeah, no, I agree. In fact, my son just did too. And
He was
I
not-
asked him, I said, how do you feel your ACT prep class prepared you for? And he said he didn't feel like he did very well, like the things they focused on. And then, you know, all these tutoring centers and stuff, we could easily have a class. Most of the people we talk to are just people that want to come teach somewhere and they just want a building or a room.
One place.
And if we have people out there that say, hey, yeah, let's do an ACT prep class, or kids that are getting ready to take it, let's go set it up and they just come after school. Or like some of this, they've even been doing during school, like their last period of school, they go to this other building. Be similar to like release time for seminary. And then instead of seminary, they can go do whatever this other class.
So
So
mostly,
just be aware in commercial zone, a private school is a conditional use.
Right now, it's a conditional use.
but would it be considered a private school? if it's just like a learning.
I would consider more of a business at that point. What do you think, Dean? Do you think, if they're
doing our
they're
best
teaching classes,
to work with the public and encourage business, call it anything we want.
It's hard. People have been asking me for months now as we're discussing this. Well, what is it?
What is
I'm like,
it? I'm like,
well,
it kind of doesn't look like anything that's really out there is really what it is.
If you classify it as a business though, there's other stipulations that you also have to look at in residential areas. And so you have to just see which one would be most favorable to what they're.
which one works better, yeah.
I would say two-roll, and that's what a lot of this could be considered a B occupancy.
Be what?
A B occupancy, which is business.
Anyway,
Right.
yeah. I've gone through the list, and I don't see any other ones that stand out to me. The handicap, the entrance and access and parking were the big ones I was concerned with.
we want to make sure we have good access both levels and handicap both levels. That's our plan.
Yeah.
We don't want anybody to be left out because they can't get through the door. So, yeah.
Or downstairs.
And we figured we could get away with not having a little, or like an elevator if we have access at both levels. Like,
Yeah, they could get there from the
they could get
basement.
there. They can access it from the basement, but I don't know.
Yeah, that's great.
So,
One question I have is, if we table this, they don't have to pay the conditional fee again, do they?
To come in on this same issue, no,
On the same.
So I would recommend that we just, if you want more time, we can table it, and then you can come back a little bit later and not pay the fee again.
Or you want to maybe
Or we can
look
make a
at-
motion if you want.
get with the library, discuss some things with that.
if we, sorry, I'm just like, I do think in my head. If we table it and we find another location that is in a commercial use, are we gonna need
You'd
another?
have to pay the fee again.
Yeah, we'd have to just come
Pay
pay
the
the process.
Because this application applies to this property.
Then let's just do this, like, let's not table it.
Let's just decide.
Yeah, let's just decide. Was that okay? 'Cause I think it's.
Yeah.
So you guys, there's not any issues on these, conditional use things, you guys don't see anything that's a deal breaker for them, 'cause I don't. I think it's all gonna be worked through on the plans.
All that would come as part of the site plan.
Engineered plans
Yeah.
will answer most of these questions, so I don't see any
I don't know of any,
uses or anything.
any conditions that we would need to put in excess of what.
Now, one thing that we could possibly do in the effort to work with this, if we did decide to go with this property, we probably would need to come back with a full site plan. And that, we might could include this in this fee.
I might only mention again, just the aesthetics of the building
Yeah, we could look at
as a
this on-
condition, that would be a condition.
But because it would have to have a site plan approval for it, it's not residential.
And that would come through like the building permit process, once we, that stage, we'll have all of our engineer drawings and our site.
Like you have that, you come back before the board, just like we own the church. to
Yeah,
submit
just the same
some part
To
of
me,
the-
number
And how you plan to do everything.
would be what you're talking about there, would comply with the visuals.
Yeah.
Yeah, with the library and
Yeah,
stuff, yeah.
Yeah.
so that's where we could apply that condition.
Okay. Might make
Yeah, it's like number 3 there.
Yeah, that's what I would say,
Fits
just
in
on
with
number
the-
3,
Just so we have a basis to say this is
And
what
we do
we're.
have a master plan, that'll also help us to understand what we're trying to do right there on Lagoon and in that area, from really Lagoon Street, where you guys are talking 200 West, clear to the high school, there's a master plan in place to, as things change and develop, that it'll meet certain criteria, and so, I would just be aware of that, and that's the condition, and it would just be the aesthetics match the. And he made a good point too, because they're gonna have to bring a master plan. And do you approve the master plans on your
The
own?
code
No,
says,
they come in here on commercial.
Okay,
And,
I'd like to talk about that afterwards.
well, and
well, you shouldn't talk to me because if you had left it to me, we'd have a church going.
well,
We'll,
hold on that.
yeah.
Let's hold on that.
So I talked to JR as far as maybe, and JR mentioned you could pass a motion to include a site plan review for this couple here.
that's what I was
in a
gonna
motion.
say.
That was in the old ordinance, the new ordinance doesn't allow that.
But we can
So
still,
what I'm saying, what he's saying, Chris, is that the site plan will still have to come to core planning and zoning. So to be looked at, and so the motion would be contingent on the approval of that master plan in the future, that site plan in the future. So your motion could be yes, contingent on, the aesthetics of the building and the approval of the master plan when they come and it's ready. So you can move forward with it so that they feel comfortable with it. And as long as the site plan, I said master plan, but the site plan is agreeable, then they would know which direction to go, so.
I'll make that motion that we approve it upon, once it is built, the building inspector make sure it meets all the requirements of the site plan. And that there is access for handicap.
And then when the site plan comes before the council, that it's approved.
Basically, it needs to be conditioned on approval of the site plan.
Correct.
Is that the right wording?
Yes, condition.
Oh, I thought you wanted just to, we just put it in the dean's court.
Well, you guys make
no,
a
we
motion,
can still do
so
it.
you guys make whatever motion you want.
I think I'm fine with the building inspector approving the site plan. I don't think the site plan needs to come back. It actually, in the site plan ordinance, it says that as part of the conditional use, the site plan can be approved. So they don't have to come back again. I can pull that up.
No, I see what you're saying, but they don't have the site plans right now.
And so it'd be approved on the condition that the building inspector meets all of the things in the ordinance.
There you go.
And that used to, that line actually used to be in the old ordinance, but then the site plans could be approved upon and with it meets the future things, and that line's been pulled out of the ordinance.
So let's restate your
So-
motion, so I know what, so we all know what the motion actually is.
So I'll make the motion that we approve the conditional use,
Okay,
the building is accessible for handicap, and that the building inspector, the site plan meets all the criteria in the ordinance. And the building inspector is made sure that the site plan meets all those conditions. It's way too long.
What about the aesthetics?
Okay, this is what, straighten me out. Motion to approve is made by Chris Thompson.
Let's just do conditions, so let's do three conditions. Okay,
start all over, let's.
so
throw out
motion
that
passed
motion.
based on three conditions. So the first condition is, site accessible to handicap. Site plan, site plan approved by building inspector and meets city ordinance. And then the third one is that it matches the aesthetics of is coordinated with the library. Does that sound fair? Does that sound fair?
I think that seems pretty clear, more clear. More.
Now he's gonna give them us the learn to see the new library.
Now you guys can see it before most people.
Okay,
So we're gonna, I guess we could relay the questions as well.
with that motion
Rand is allowed.
by Chris, do we have a second?
Oh, wait.
It sounds like, who seconded it?
Rand is.
Ren, did you second it?
Somebody did.
I'll second it.
Okay.
So that was Red with the second. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. That is it.
All right.
Thanks for coming.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Thank you. I think we're done too, right?
And then,
Let's
let's keep it short.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah.
No problem. See you guys.
Do we have other business?
Yeah, I'd like to.
Okay, Chris has some other business he'd like to, just discuss briefly.
So as far as the GR,
We're discussing some other business right now. If you wanna,
so if you actually go to the site plan agreement, I didn't want to bring this up in front of everybody. Where did I put that site plan? So would you pull that up, Drew? Which one was it? Right here, yeah. So 1713.
yeah, the ordinance 1713. Design review.
So if you go to L,
L, up, on 020, letter L. Approval.
so if you guys, GRD, so this applies to you guys, I think you'll find this interesting.
Okay.
So it actually, so this was changed, this ordinance was changed on the site plans. And the way it reads is that the building inspector is the only one that has to approve the site plan. So this caught me off guard, and I went and looked at other city ordinances, and no other cities require a site plan to be approved only by the building inspector. And
Do they have to come to the planning and zoning commission?
so our old ordinance only went to planning and zoning. But some of the, very few of the cities only went to planning and zoning, but most of the cities went to both planning and zoning and to council.
Council doesn't want to see, council should be involved with that. Talk to, who's the attorney for the city?
David Church.
David Church. Talk to David Church about that. And the reason is because, give me just a second. The land use. I'm going to select them out.
Sorry, I didn't realize it's so loud.
You don't know how that holiday goes. Don't
So-
tell any secrets.
Long story short, and this is a good time to talk about this. So one of the things that David Church says, and it's written in the laws, and the reason the Planning and Zoning Commission is here is because when it comes to land uses and those types of things, you want an objective body to make those decisions. Peers of the people that are coming in, and that are not politically motivated or tied to elections or anything else. And so the danger I see in having to go through planning and zoning and then coming before the council is the council overrules the planning and zoning decision, which has been done a lot. And it's usually politically motivated. And, and that's not what we want to get into. And that's why we remain as the appeals committee. So if a site plan or something is proposed, then it should go through, first it should be vetted by the building inspector or whoever the city planner is. And then if we have it written that way, which I think is a good idea to come before planning and zoning, that it go before planning and zoning, but once it's approved, it should be done. Because again, the planning and zoning they don't make the decision as far as if the ordinance reads this, but they feel like something else should happen, they don't have that latitude. Does that make sense? And so it's only the Planning and Zoning Commission's job to research the ordinances, compare those with what's being presented, and make sure that it fits within those parameters. Conditional uses are a little bit different because there is some leniency there as far as what you guys can require, but it needs to be reasonable. And if that person comes and gets a conditional use permit and they meet the requirements, you have to approve it. So as long as the negative impacts can be mitigated, you have to approve it. And so maybe we look at that. One of the things with that, and I talked to Steve about this a long time ago, this was changed, this Title 17 was changed right before I took office. And
Well, it was changed while you were mayor. This one was changed while you were mayor. Because it's interesting on the site plan.
oh no, you're absolutely right, it was.
On the site plan, so this is just an interesting thing is, in here, the way it's worded is it's only needs to be approved by the building inspector. And you questioned that in the meeting.
Mhm.
And the way it was explained is no, the way it's worded is it has to go to the council and it has to go to planning and zoning.
Right.
And so that's what was explained to you, so you accepted it, even though it's not worded how it was explained to you. So that was something I talked to Steve about is, so do you go off the intent of what the council passed, or do you go off of what's actually written?
Well, and I guess that's the other thing is I had some concerns. I had more than that.
Oh, I listened to the whole thing, it was, and you're the only one, and none of the council, and there's several changes, and I found in this, like just going through this one thing, like for the site plans, there is an exception to the sidewalks, but it says it has to be approved by conditional use. Well, sidewalk's not a conditional use, and I found that there's several errors in that change that were made, that I think as a body, we need to relook at all those changes.
I agree, and that the other thing, and I'm not trying to throw anybody under the bus here, but, and our new acting city manager and I looked at this along with the city attorney, and even Dean's hands were tied to a degree because the city manager asserted some of that authority to make those decisions, which wasn't kosher either. And so I think it's a good idea to go through and have this body, because I think you all are objective and have Roosevelt City's best interest in mind. I would say look at it and present to council for changes. I agree, and I had several, like I said, but I was concerned because of that fact. It was given latitude to some people that shouldn't even be involved with that. We have our building inspector here for a reason, we have planning and zoning here for a reason. And other parties really shouldn't be involved unless it's specified and there's a reason, whether they're an appeals committee, a variance committee, or whatever it may be. So.
What I was hoping for is that maybe we could get emailed a copy of all those changes that were made.
I think I might have a red line version, and in fact, I sent it to Steve when I got it. And you're right, I thought this was done before, because there were several things that were, but no, I remember that meeting, because I had
Yeah.
a pretty good note.
I talked to Roger about several of these items too, because in the area, Roger's probably the most expert on planning and zoning. And a lot of these things, he said that they didn't comply with state code.
Yeah.
And so I would like, I know that Roger's on the payroll for the city. I would like him to review those, and actually come to us next time and tell us his thoughts about the changes.
I'm okay with him doing that, but in all honesty, Grant does a really good job. Grant Charles, he does a pretty darn good job, and I don't think he would have allowed, unless those changes were made without his supervision, which is a possibility, because it's a possibility. But if he were to look at it, he's pretty good at comparing it with state code and making sure that we're not out of line. And so we'd have him look at it as well and make sure that all those things are kosher.
And I think with Grant's schedule, it might take more than a month.
It might.
He's a lot going on.
We have a lot going on right now. There's a lot going on. And we're working through a lot of different things. And so, but we can put it in the hopper, and I can talk to him next Tuesday. But biggest thing, do you still have that red line copy?
I should, I'd have to search for
And I
that.
probably do too. Why don't you see Steve if you have it, and if you have it, go ahead and send it out so that they can see what the changes were made at that time. I can see if I can go back to some of my notes. I don't know if I can remember them, but let's go back to that and see if that's what we want. I can present it back to.
Would you be okay if I just gave it to Roger and then that was him?
I'm fine with that. Ultimately, before any changes are made, we'll have Dean in on our meeting when we go over that, and we'll have our city attorney along with myself but
It was in,
so
I think it was October of 2018.
if Roger redlines it, if you guys want to put your suggestions or whatever, that's fine. We'll give it to the city attorney. We'll have Dean look at it. And then, once we kind of get it to where we want it, it'll come before the council first. And then to see if we even want to change it. If we do, then it'll come back before the planning and zoning. And then move through the process.
This is the one that they did without coming to us at all, right?
Correct.
Yeah.
Well, I kept sending it to you, so you need to look at this.
Yeah, that was.
This one didn't even come before planning and zoning.
Yeah, which was against state code.
Yeah, I think it was kind of the entire chapter of 17, the entire. all the
Right.
chapters. I don't think
But
it was-
well, state code says all land use ordinances, any changes have to come before planning and zoning, and that was one that should have come, but didn't.
Well, I went to meeting and told them that.
Yeah,
What's that?
I was there and I said that, stated that at that meeting. And they still, the council still approved those changes.
And I was pretty new then, I believe.
Yeah.
I wouldn't allow that to happen now. I just said, nah, this is new, we're gonna do it later.
We'll have to watch now you ought to go back and watch the video, but it's interesting. I was interested in it. The video is,
So before my time, I hope.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I'm still trying to learn everything, so.
Well, I had a learning curve too.
So it'd be
And I thought about that.
Around October of 2018,
Okay. Yeah, that was a while ago.
and that would have been, you were just new.
I just wanted to bring up some other concerns too, if we're,
He's the chair.
Yeah,
or do you want another time?
if they're brief concerns.
Let's hold off on that.
Okay. On that, I would entertain, if there's no one else has any other business, I would entertain the motion to adjourn. I'll make that motion. Motion by Chris Squire,
And Dean, I apologize. I shouldn't have raised my voice.
second. I'll second that motion, because I can do that. As a board, yes, I can make and second motions. Hey, all in favor? Aye. We're adjourned. Well, I can't. You can. We found that out.
And that's why when and Don, you'll notice this too, when I